Linked up on Mark13News.com for the 8th of January 2022 is first of all, United States rejects Russia's call to halt NATO expansion, and the United States also aims to step up economic ties in Indo-Pacific, the United States being the current king of the South, as you can see pointed out in the Daniel 11 hypothesis on biblicalresearchlabs.com. And behind the scenes of this ongoing tension between the United States and the Russian Federation, which is the current king of the North in Daniel chapter 11, are the two warring factions of Kenites, which is what nation shall rise against nation means in Matthew 24, Mark 13, and Luke 21. Red China focuses on military modernization, Red China being a creation of the Soviet Union, which was the second king of the North, and again the third and current king of the North is the Russian Federation. So then Daniel 11 verses 13 through 15, we're looking forward to the period of time happening now, in my opinion, that will end whenever the one who sends a raiser of taxes, which is the United Nations, the same thing as the great horn of the he-goat, gets broken, so to speak, after which the so-called New World Order will come into being at the woe of the fifth trumpet. Linked up for January 9th as America's Asia strategy has reached a dead end, followed by the emerging polycentric world order, which is the same thing as multipolar, and finally the path to Russian dominance. The two warring factions of Kenites are using unipolar versus multipolar globalism, as you can see from the relentless propaganda trying to talk one or the other into existence. The left-right paradigm symbolized by Ammon and Moab being on the unipolar end of the globalist spectrum, while Edom, which means red, is on the multipolar end, including the so-called outsider politicians that appear to be in opposition to the left-right paradigm. Linked up for January 10th, Russia's inviolable sphere of influence, followed by is Putin attempting to rebuild the Russian Empire as the Ezekiel 38 Confederacy continues to formulate, which will at the woe of the fifth trumpet become the bear of Daniel chapter 7, which is the fourth king of the North. AUKUS seen as violating rules on arms control, the security pact between Australia, the United Kingdom, and the United States, which is a step in the direction of the lion of Daniel chapter 7, which is the fourth king of the South, as you can see pointed out in the Daniel 11 hypothesis. Linked up for January 11th, 2022 is first of all America's attempt to build a unipolar world, but again it's really the Kenites on the unipolar end of the globalist spectrum, pulling the strings from behind the curtain, so to speak, and as you can see in Daniel chapter 11 verse 14, the robbers of thy people shall exalt themselves to establish the vision of a one world system, that is to say, but they shall fall. And that word translated as fall in the Hebrew really means to fail, because there will be no new world order, as it's called, until Satan and his angels get cast to earth at the woe of the fifth trumpet. Up next, AUKUS states sign information exchange deal, and finally Iran and Russia's strategic partnership, as Ezekiel 38 verses 1 through 7 continue to play out, with Iran being Persia. Linked up for January 12th is the global order in crisis, followed by Russia's pledged rehabilitation of Ethiopia, another one of the countries listed in Ezekiel 38, and finally Syria officially joins China's Belt and Road. Linked up for January 13th, political multipolarity is yet to emerge, followed by Russia may deploy troops to Venezuela and Cuba. And remember, the president of Venezuela called for a multipolar world back in September of 2020. And finally, new roadmap for Libya elections, another one of the countries listed in Ezekiel 38, and linked up for January 14th, 2022, Kremlin talks with United States and NATO unsuccessful, followed by Ethiopia's conflict entering a new phase, and finally Armenia expects diplomatic relations with Turkey, most likely to Gorma and Gomer in Ezekiel chapter 38, and again at the woe of the fifth trumpet, the Ezekiel 38 Confederacy will become the bear of Daniel chapter 7, when Satan and his angels get cast to earth, which is also when the lion of Daniel chapter 7 comes into being, when the he-goat of Daniel chapter 8 becomes the leopard of Daniel chapter 7, symbolic of the Kenites and their four hidden dynasties, when the one world political system of Revelation chapter 13 emerges at the beginning of the 5-month-long hour of temptation. That one world political system will then receive a deadly wound, after which Satan will appear as the Antichrist at 666, the sixth seal, the sixth trumpet, and the sixth sixth vial. The true Christ won't return at all until 777, the seventh trumpet, the seventh vial, and immediately after that silence in heaven about the space of half an hour written of in the seventh seal. And as the true Christ says in the last verse of Mark chapter 13, what I say unto you, I say unto all, watch.